I was drunk.
Yeah, a couple martinis deep.
Yeah, I'm about ready to start too. Why don't why don't we have drinks over here, bro? Jeff, where are the drinks, man? You're the producer.
Listen, man, I got water for you.
Water.
So let's get serious for a second. So obviously over the past, decade, even maybe more, the media landscape has changed tenfold, hundredfold. My parents alone are starting to finally understand what Instagram is and Twitter and all these things. But I'm millennial, so I kind of already know. I was born with it in a sense.
You're now my consultant on all things younger
right,
than 40.
I'm the fresh face, fresh voice, but
fresh ideas.
But so where did you get the idea to start podcasting? Was that something that was already done?
Yeah, it wasn't started yet, man. I mean, I started playing around with what we called on-demand audio. Mm-hmm. So it was basically like record and replay when I was in the restaurant business, and I used to use it as a means to train the servers. We then turned it into like an audio cookbook, but there was no podcast yet. I think it was the iPhone 1. There was like the iPod was out. When I first started like really sports podcasting, let's say, they came out with the iPod. Well, what you'd have to do is if you wanted to leave your computer, bro, you'd have to plug in your iPod and download your content to that iPod and then take it with you, and it would be on your iPod. Now, I got, and do you know what an iPod is?
I had an iPod.
So I never had one in my life.
Really?
So
did you have the Walkman?
When I was younger, I did with the big headphones. Yeah, I had so I had all that. But what I used to do, guys, I used to get blank DVDs at like Best Buy or CVS.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those few people who likes the sound of their own voice. I died to listen to it in the car so I could see what it would sound like on the radio, right? And so you'd put the CD in, and you would burn it onto the CD. Then I still have it, guys. I should have brought it with me. I still have the case full of the whole first season of the Celtics late night show. And they used to have like, do you remember these? There were books you put your CDs in.
Yep.
They're all labeled like Eastern Conference Final.
Right.
This was the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett era. There was and it's still around. You know them, Celtic Stuff Live. They were my heroes, right? When I first ran into like blogging.
Yeah, John and Justin.
And they still are going 20 years later, but they were kind of the gold standard to all 75 people who listened. Mm-hmm. I remember when we broke 100 listeners, it was like a big deal,
100 listeners?
Yeah, man. I mean, that was a big deal. It's 100 less people.
100 early adopters.
They were early, man, but I say like Celtics blogs, SB Nation was a huge help because once a program came out that would host your feed where you didn't have to use FeedBurner and create an RSS feed for your audio, you had places you could go to. Well, then you could embed the content easily, and it looked good on the site. So back then, SB Nation wanted to be progressive. I'm sure they do now. We don't do a ton with them, but we still work with Celtics blog, obviously, on our sports network. And they used to embed the live, so like, we were the Celtics late night show, which is kind of funny. We were like trying to make ourselves more the Howard Stern of Celtics stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because Celtics Stuff Live was so, straight and narrow. And they used to do a full post-game show after every game. Call-in. They did it like 2006 and 2007. I mean, they're the real podfather.
They were doing call-ins.
They were doing call-ins. And then Justin, who still does the show, look them up on iTunes if you've not heard of Justin Poulin and John Duke. And they would do, after a while, I think it just became, it was just very, we've been doing it now for years where you do all 82 games. I mean, it was hard when you look at our team who took over the Garden Report from me and Jared Weiss and Jimmy. It's the same guys, all 82 games. That's hard.
Yeah.
And Justin, I think got to a point where he was burnt out. So at that point, that was our opportunity, where Justin was covering games for Celtics blog, and Duke was covering games too. So they needed someone to fill in once or twice a week. Mm-hmm. And anyway, we used to do their post game show, and then the following season, Okay, so if there wasn't a post-game show, they were on at 10 every, I think, Monday, and we were on at 11. So we were the late night show, right?
Gotcha.
So they were like very, very no cursing,
You had the
very
game, you
straight
had the
down
post-game
game
show.
analysis,
Yep.
you know. And then it came to us, and we'd have on like Aztec Gino,
Yeah.
and like all the super fans, you know. We took they would take 2 or 3 callers a show. We would take 30 or 40.
Right.
You know, I remember we had Tim Donaghy, the rogue ref, on, and just we got him before 60 minutes, just when he got out of prison.
Oh wow, yeah.
And then he ended up working with us. So when the Celtics went to the finals in 2010, he was an analyst for our post-game show.
For CLNS.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
So-
that's where Celtics Late Night Show came, or CLNS came from. It was originally called Celtics Late Night Show. It's such a stupid, lame name.